Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over my Warhammer World Tournament report just gone past in August. We'll be going over all the tournament details as well as why I use Galapox and how. And remember to like and subscribe as well as come on, let me know what you thought of today's tournament report. Let me know what you like and stuff. And remember, I've got Discord you can check out in the episode description below for free, an affiliate link on Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support as well. But let's get on with the video. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff happened this weekend. Very important stuff for Kill Team, namely the Warhammer World Tournament in August, right? So this was their golden ticket event for August. So it was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, 6 rounds, 3 rounds each day at 2 hours each. So I'd locked into this a while ago, and I went down with my friend Charles, and we had a few Londoners down there as well. I was at that this weekend, and nothing else of importance happened. Nothing else that I should be talking about. For the event, I was using my Galapox Infected, or as they're more correctly known, the Necropox Infected, and I've even finished a display board for them now. That's how much I'm into the hobby. So as you can see, my display board's pretty cool there. Made it from MDF with a cork board. I should have used thicker MDF because it warped, unfortunately. But basically, the main thing about this display board is it's showing my kill team awakening from their tomb world to go and claim new victims. But it was pretty fun to make. You know, it took me about, I think, 2 weeks altogether. The wall was made from bark chips, which I then glued together, and I used the Pariah Nexus terrain because I just wanted to give everything enough space, and then it's just painted like how I did the rest of my kill team. As you can see from the different angles, you get a bit of a better shot. Photographing the display boards are also more difficult than I imagined. But, you know, the main thing about my Galapox Infected is just, I love them. I've been, gotta keep playing them until, you know, the end of the edition or season, whatever comes first. But I'm having a lot of fun with Galapox Infected. They're really fun. Normally, like, I originally started my roots in Kill Team with Tyranids, so I have a lot of experience with melee teams, and normally after playing melee teams a lot, I prefer the shooting element, but Galapox has enough shooting with their leader Flamer and the frag grenades. So, but I've been playing Galapox for a long time, and, you know, especially for this year, I wanted to stick to one faction. So I've been playing Galapox for a number of months now, and I'm very confident and comfortable with them. I have a lot of matchups planned out. I'm confident into most matchups as well as maps. And because this event was also open and into the dark, so one round would be open and round one would be into the dark, and there was no beta decima, I was very comfortable running my Galapox Infected. So for round one, I was on Vertigus against Nemesis Claw on loot, because every day was loot, secure, capture, loot, secure, capture. And I was like, okay, loot's going to be hard. As long as I don't get the diagonal open board with all the objectives on the middle, I should be okay. And of course, round one, I get all the objectives on the middle with loot. So this was actually quite hard. So what I did was, after winning as the attacker, I let my opponent pick sides. And then my main game plan was to recon dash the Scarab at the bottom and then use Drawn to the Hum to move the 2 Hulks and the 2 Glitchlings up, so they could basically go forward and apply pressure. Everyone was on conceal apart from my leader, and I was expecting my opponent to use more of his 4-inch dashes, but he only used it on the icon, the ventriloquist, and then he used a recon dash on his leader on the bottom right. So what happened was, I won initiative. I decided to go first. I expected him to Vox Scream one of my Glitchlings, but he didn't. So turning point 1, I was able to loot both center objectives because the Scarab on the Glitchling on the far left moved into the open, looted the objective, and the Glitchling behind the barricade moved up behind the building and looted that objective. And then I was able to get 3 on the primary, while also being able to space up forward and set enough multi-charges. My opponent got both corner objectives and his own. He did win initiative turning point 2, and I had popped Blessings of Infection and Rust Emanation, so he charged his Butcher into my Lumberghast, who was on the right middle objective behind the building. And unfortunately, he only got 2 hits, whereas I got 4 hits, including 1 crit. So he crit me for 6 damage. I only took 2. Then I parried and killed him. No, I went down to 9 damage, sorry, but I killed him. And then I activated my Flesh Screamer, who was on the other point, who could have charged his Ventriloquist, but he Vox Screamed that. So then I charged into his leader. So interestingly, into this matchup, as long as my Lumberghast is on full wounds, I should be able to kill his leader, who had the Grizzly Trophy. But the issue was I only had 9 wounds. So I was like, okay, I'm probably going to die anyway. So I'll just charge in and chip down his leader. Charged in, did 2 mortal wounds, right? Because I was also playing Rampant Nightmare for my attack ops. He then only rolled 2 hits, even with a reroll, because of my Blessings of Infection, because of my Rust Emanations. And because he got no crits and I got 2 hits, he parried... no, I got 3 hits altogether, sorry. No, I got 2 hits, yeah. So he parried one of my hits with a Prescience token. Then I hit him for 6 damage, so he's down to 6 wounds. And then he hit me for 8 damage, and I only took 4 damage in return after my damage prevention rolls. Then I spent a CP to fight again and just immediately killed his leader. And then by the end of turning point 3, I charged my Ventriloquist. Well, charged my Flesh Scream into his Ventriloquist, killed him. So at the end of turning point 3, he only had his Plasma, Fearmonger, and Night Scream. But the Night Scream died at the end of turning point 2 via one of my mutants, which I'd moved up behind the barricade on the top left, which gave me Robin Ransack. And then by the start of turning point 4, he was effectively wiped out. So I managed to just loot the primary 4 more times on turning point 3 and 4. So in the end, I managed to win that. I think it was like 23-12. So it was a very close match at first on turning point 1 or 2, but winning turning point 3 initiative kind of swung it for me, because then I just immediately charged his Fearmonger with my leader, murdered him, and just basically secured that point. So I was always able just to go 4-4 from turning point 3 onwards in the primary. I was expecting him to use his shadow move with his not Ventriloquist, his Fearmonger, because his Fearmonger wasn't engaged. And effectively, if his Fearmonger had used the 4-inch move, he would have been in a range, because oddly his barricade blocked his movement. He would have been able to move and dash and then basically throw his Pox Bomb where my Hulks had all moved forward. So he could have been able to hit that. Obviously, if he had done that, I wouldn't have drawn to the hum right there. But he didn't apply enough pressure, and I was just able to set up at the end of each turning point 3 different threats. So even if I lost initiative and one was Vox Screamed, I had something else that could charge and kill. But it was a close game and tight, but I got very fortunate considering the map and the matchup. Then we had the painting competition. So at lunch, instead of doing it on the Sunday, they did it on the Saturday. So obviously I entered my my Necropox Infected, but there were lots of really cool entrants. As you can see, there was a Squig kill team. There was a Nemesis Claw kill team right there. We had Void Dancer troops, lots of scouts. Like this Mantis Warriors scout squad kill team was painted really nicely. It got 3rd overall. Like, my picture doesn't do it justice, but it was almost heavy metal level quality. Very, very nice. Then you can see Felgor there. And then another selection of kill teams all used. And then another nice selection of kill teams. I'll show some close-ups. So this was from Tom, one of my patrons. He won 2nd overall for best painted. Really stunning job. I think that's heavy metal level quality, and he managed to finish his display board on time too. Really nice use of water effects as well, and I love that he painted some Tyranids too. And then we've also got this Slanesh Chaos Space Marine team, which is actually Hyrotech Circle, but very, very nice. Then for round 2, it was Secure, also on still table 15, and I was into Custodes. Now you all may be thinking, oh, it's just Custodes, John. How hard can it be? Well, if you watch my video on Custodes, you would understand it's not as easy as it would look. And Custodes with 4 Custodes is actually one of the harder Galapox matchups. So what I did is I recon dashed up my leader. I was the attacker, and then I used Drawn to the Hum to move everyone else up there. So my leader effectively got 6 inches of movement while starting on the objective to give me an extra command point. He won initiative. Well, I gave him initiative because he only used his recon dash to get one of his Custodes on the point instead of threatening my left objective. So then what I did is secured my bottom 3, and then he wisely didn't take his top right objective, because there was no barricade there. And if he moved on to take the objective, my leader would just flame him because my leader was on engage. So he didn't do that. And then turning point 2, he won initiative. So he charged in on, killed my glitchly on the point on the left. And then I charged in with my Flesh Screamer, forgetting he could double parry. So I did crit and 3 hits, and he rolled 2 crits and 2 hits. I parried one of his crits. Then he parried 2 of my crits, 2 of my hits. And then I was like, oh. So I hit him for 5 damage. And then he parried me out, and I left. And he struck me for like 4 damage. So I left myself on the point. And then after he did some more things moving on to the points, I then charged in with my Lumberghast with a barge to end him on the other side. And effectively, I rolled D3 mortal wounds. So I did 3. I crit him, or I hit him for 6 damage, leaving him with 5 wounds left. Then, because he didn't roll enough crits, he couldn't power me out, and then I killed him. So then I was in a position to threat his other custody leader, who had moved into my objective on the other side. So I just started chipping him and charging him with my tentacle monster. But effectively, because I have so many ways to chip the custodies, because I had taken 3 sludge grubs and a flea, and I was just throwing frag grenades at them. I was shooting everything, throwing stuff in just to chip them down enough so like my Nightmare Hulks could kill them. Because effectively, my leader had flamed his custody on the right-hand side 2 times and then charged him to steal the point. So by the end of turning point 3, he had 1 custodies left, just like running between points. So I managed to go 3-3, 3-3, and then 4-2, 4-2. But it was very, very tough. I had actually taken security because I knew I wouldn't be able to kill all the custodies. I had taken hold them back and escort operative with my tentacle monster. So I was only able to get 1 point in escort operative, but I got max points on hold them back. And then I also just hit 50 points of damage for Rampant Nightmare, but it was a very tough game and had a very good opponent. I was just lucky I was well versed in the Custodes matchup. Then for round 3, I was once again on table 15, but this time, you know, Games Workshop Warhammer World were like, oh, you know, if you play on the same board more than once, you can play on one of our spare boards, because they had 1 player not turn up. So I was like, okay, what map would be the other board? And it was like, oh, it's Into the Dark, obviously, but then Beta Decima. And I was like, okay, never mind, I'll just stick to this board. So I was back on this board again, and this time I won the defender role. So I was like, I'll just pick the side I was on last time, right? And we were playing capture. So capture, I was like, this is okay, it's capture, it should be fine. So Tom, he moved up on the right-hand side, but Reavers can only do the forward deploy. So he'd taken mostly the shooty stuff. He had taken the Incurser leader, so he could ignore obscuring. So basically, I had to hug cover as much as possible. So turning point 1, I only got 2 on the primary, whereas my opponent got 4, which was fair. He actually got 3, sorry. I was able to contest the center-left objective. Well, then he won initiative turning point 2, because I had chosen change order while he'd chosen change order as well. But he won initiative. He had his saboteur on the top left objective, moved and deployed the mine on my Flesh Screamer, who was on that objective, and only did 2 wounds because I don't take damage. And then my Flea charged onto the middle right objective to detonate the mine. So then he had his mine layer and his Reaver left. So the mine layer moved out, shot my Lumberghast, and actually did quite a bit of damage to him. But then he just charged onto the Reaver, did D3 mortal... then the Reaver moved out and shot twice at my Lumberghast, bringing him down to 8 wounds, right? So then I charged in, I did D3 mortal wounds to him. So he took 3, so I went down to 9, and then I got 3 hits, and I got 2 hits, so I would Blessings of Infection, and he had no crits. So I hit him for 6 damage. He hit me for 4, so I went down to 5, and then I killed him. And then it kind of fell apart for him there. It was actually still quite close. But then what happened was I just threatened with enough bodies. I was able to kill 3 Reavers by turning point 2. At the end of turning point 3, he was only down to 2, but I was also only down to my tentacle monster and leader. But because my tentacle had swung around to kill his mine layer on the top left, I secured me Rob and Ransack with a Hulk that had only taken 2 damage to max my Rob and Ransack. And then effectively his mine layer just had moved and dashed around trying to steal my objectives. But because I had taken Tech Infect, I managed to Tech Infect my objective, the 2 central objectives, and then the top left objective. So it was still super close. I only won by 3 points in the end, just because my leader wasn't in the right angle. So he only lived on 2 wounds, and then I wasn't able to actually kill his leader. But at the end of the game, Tom had his leader and mine layer left, whereas I only had 2 Hulks, a Glitchling, and a Sludge Grub left. So he managed to max Courier, Plant Signal Beacon, and Recover Item. So he did very well on the TAC Ops, but because he focused more on the TAC Ops than the primary, I was able to max my TAC Ops as well and just take the lead on the primary, because I managed to go 3-3, 3-3, and then 4-2, 4-2. So that's what managed me to get me the win, but very, very tough. And Tom played as Phobos exceedingly well. Then after a nice night in Nottingham at Hickory's, you know, very nice. Me and Charles and the Londoners, Tom and Paolo, we had a nice dinner. Hickory's pretty good. Nottingham, it's not bad, you Midlanders. So it was nice Sunday morning, back on loot, and I was like, okay, loot, I'm ready for this. I'm either playing Legionary or Felgor, but I should play on a new map. So I was back on table 15 for the 4th game in a row on loot against Russ and his Legionary. So Legionary, a team I also know intimately well. I played them quite a lot, but loot is not easy, right? So I won the attacker defender role, so I'm let him be defender, and effectively I did the same thing, so recon and then drawn to the hum to move everyone on the right-hand side. He went in it. I let him go first because he didn't use his recon dash to threaten my left objective, because I only had my Flesh Screamer and 2 Glitchlings there. So I was quite aware I left it quite weak, so I had to course correct by moving stuff around. But effectively, I had a Glitchling move onto 1 and loot it. I had a Glitchling move onto the middle objective and loot it. And then I had another another mutant loot the right objective. Then turning point 2, I won initiative, so I could have either pulled the Glitchling back on the left, who was my eliminate guard, or because I'd opened the door at the end of turning point 2 on the right hand side at turning point 1, my Lumberghast was in range of the hatchway if I did a drawn to the hum. So I did a drawn to the hum for 2 CP to pull my Lumberghast onto the objective, so he could now charge the melter gunner on the point, as well as the Psyker, who was within 2 inches of the door. So I charged onto the plasma. I was running Rampant Nightmares again, did D3 more wounds, did 3, killed him in 2 hits, and then I spent another CP to hatchway fight. I rolled 3 hits exactly, and then my opponent rolled 2 hits with no crits. He spent a CP to reroll, missed again. And effectively, altogether, my Lumberghast took 2 wounds, and he just killed the Sorcerer, so he managed to get a 2 for 1. So I was very, very lucky there. Statistically, that shouldn't have worked out, because remember, I have Brutal, so he needed a crit to parry. But otherwise, I was very confident in that trade, because in 1 activation, I'd taken away 2 of his models and 2 activations and effectively secured that right-hand side objective. And then he charged in with his double sword dude, who charged in, killed my Glitchling, gave -1 APL to my Nightmare Hulk behind the door, my Flesh Screamer, and then secured the point. So then I just switched to engage, charged him, and passed, because that's all I could do. And then I just sent my tentacle monster through the central objective towards the other door and moved everyone up to open the door and just set traps around. Because at the end of turning point 1, my tentacle monster was in the room, so I managed to open the door with someone else and move and dash him up onto the other objective, and then basically just managed to loot 3 times. Then I managed to win initiative, sorry. So I started off by sending in 2 mutants, because actually before I had charged his Shrive Talon, I had thrown a frag grenade, I had shot him, so he was down to 6 wounds. So then I activated 2 mutants who looted my left objective and my central objective. Then he moved up to shoot my tentacle monster with his rotor cannon, only doing 2 wounds. And then I activated my Flesh Screamer, who fought twice and killed the Shrive Talon, and I was the eliminate guard target, then moved up. Then my tentacle monster charged his rotor cannon and managed to do 6 wounds to it. And then because I had body blocked, his anointed couldn't capture anything, and his leader had to go back to capture his objective because I looted my other 2 objectives. Turning point 3 tried to fall back from my tentacle monster on a 4-up and failed. So he was stuck there, couldn't fight. And then effectively I just continued to loot. He managed to kill my Lumberghast by sacking his leader, but then his leader then died. And at the end of turning point 4, he basically just had his rotor cannon, who unfortunately was trapped because he couldn't fall back again and was just stuck there with my tentacle monster while I continued to skewer 4 more points because the anointed had now reached my central objective, but he can't do mission actions, so I just ignored him. But I managed to max Rob and Ransack, Eliminate Guard, and Rampant Nightmares. So once again, I managed to get 22 points, but it was very close. It was just actually, once again, turning point 2, winning initiative, getting that double kill. That swung it because he didn't expect me to drawn to the hum again because it left me quite CP depleted. But in my opinion, it worked off and my gamble worked. But it was just another nice, fun game. Then we had lunch. Lunch on both days was great because it was provided by Warhammer World. Really nice lunches. And then I was finally on a different table. I don't remember. I was so happy being on a different table. Well, it was Nakmund, right? And this was secure. The interesting thing, so I was against Hierotech Circle, but this was Hierotech Circle Chaos Space Marines from Slanesh, so Emperor's Children, where I was Necrons, but as Necropox Infected. So it was actually Necrons versus Necrons, but not in the right way. But I know this map intimately because this was the map I won my Bristol Golden Ticket on. So I have played this map quite extensively. So I am very familiar with it. My opponent was running the Cryptomancer, the Chronomancer, sorry, and everyone had Gorse, right? So the issue is we both picked Recon. So I gave him Defender, and he picked that side. So I didn't take Recon, I took Change Order, and then I did Drawn to the Hum to bring my 3 guys up. So my 2 Glitchlings and my leader up there. He actually tried to Recon dash with his Chronomancer, but because he didn't pre-measure it correctly, he left his Chronomancer just a bit too far back, so the Chronomancer couldn't clear the pipe. So instead he moved up one of his Immortals. So then what I did, I managed to secure 3 objectives turning point 1 because I moved and dashed my Tentacle Monster onto the objective close enough to the heavy terrain so that he could get within 2 and shoot. So that's what he did because he'd spent the CP to get an extra 2 inches of movement. So he moved within 2 inches, shot my Tentacle Monster, did like 3 wounds, but then now he'd put himself in charge range of my leader. So my leader charged him on the middle right objective and capped the point. And then I'd capped my 2 bottom objectives. And then because I out-activated him, I had put a Glitchling and my Lumberghast in the middle of the smoke because the smoke doesn't provide light cover, it provides cover. So if it's immune to Vantage, because Vantage only flips your order if you're behind light cover. Because he put his recover item on the big building and put his death mark up there. And I was able to then win initiative turning point 2. So I charged my Lumberghast into his Despotech and Reanimator, killed his Reanimator first, proccing Rout, and then killed his Despotech next, which also procced me Eliminate Guard. And then I because of all the damage I did, I managed to hit 33 wounds for damage dealt. And that's scored me 1 point on my faction tack up. And then effectively, because he then moved his leader to stun my Flesh Screamer in the middle, my leader spent a CP to barge out of combat and charge his Apprentech on his middle objective, killed his Apprentech, leaving my leader in the open. But because he'd used reanimation on his Despotech, his Apprentech was now dead. So some of his abilities dropped off. And then basically was just kind of mopping up because he got really unlucky doing only 2 damage to my Flesh Screamer and stunning it. So my Flesh Screamer was just moving around, you know, applying like distractions, where I was able to get 5 objectives at the end of turning point 2, because my Tentacle Monster charged into his Immortal and just like kept tagging it because he tried shooting my leader but couldn't kill him. Then turning point 3, I killed Mora again. His Despotech came back, but then his Despotech died. I killed 2 more Immortals. I just completely... What I wasn't doing, I wasn't ignoring the Death Mark, but because he used it to leech power, it had 1 APL. So I just charged it with a bug, so he couldn't really do anything. So he couldn't Overwatch with it. And then effectively, because he had maxed Recover Item and then was maxing Courier, he then had Unearth Artifice. So at the end of the turning point 4, he had unearthed his Artifice but needed to secure it. So then I just sent my Flesh Screamers around. Well, my Flesh Screamer and my Lumberghast, who just basically killed the warrior on the point and secured it so no one could get to it. And I managed to win, I think it was like 23, 12 or 14, because he did really well with getting good on the tac ops, but he had kind of crumbled getting the objectives. I did tell him after, I was like, one of our Necron players is really good and doesn't really... He's played Necrons a lot and isn't really a fan of Unearth Artifice, and I said it can work, but the issue is, if you give a team like Galapox an objective they just need to reach by the end of the game, I will just send Hulks there. So, and obviously I was quite familiar with the board, because if he had just played for the primary and then pulled back, because he could have also just moved up to start turning off the smokes immediately, he would have been able to apply more pressure, but also really horrible dice. Like his Cryptek Chronomancer shot my Flesh Scream in the open and rolled 5 1s and 2s, even with a reroll. So I was just like, oh, dude, your dice. But it was really fun, super fun game, and then I managed to win that one as well. Then in my final round 6, I was on table 1, and this was Into the Dark with Capture. So I was very confident with Capture, but I was also into Blooded, so I had to be quite careful. So once again on the right-hand side, I did my double dash with my leader to get him far up, so he was close to the door, and basically I had to threaten my opponent, because if he moved up, my leader would be able to flame, so he had to stay quite back a lot. And effectively I secured, at the end of the turning point, because he had 1 more activation, I could have ran out and charged and killed his Butcher on the point, but the issue is if I did, even if I stayed in combat, he can just move up, spend a CP and shoot into combat, and I don't want to give him potentially 2 shots on my leader. But instead, he ended the turning point by moving and dashing his leader within, his melter gun within flamer range of my leader, but not in range to get a shot. So I won initiative. He declared Eliminate Guard again and the CP reroll on my leader. So I activated my leader first, flamed his melter and just moved out of the way, and effectively just started grinding him down because he lost his plasma, he lost his melter, and then I started slowly grinding down his threats. I managed to kill his leader. His leader opened the door, charged, moved and shot my Flesh Screamer, rolling a crit and 3 hits, doing 21 damage, and I only took 10 damage. So I was like, oh, I'm probably going to die from this in my head. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I lived. And then I killed his leader, got Rob and Ransack, and started grinding him down. He opened the door on the left-hand side and then moved away from the door. But no one else was in range from the door apart from the Ogren. So then I moved up another Glitchland who just closed that door, so the Ogren was trapped for another turn. Then turning point 3, he set it up more, so then he opened the door and charged into the point with his Knife Fighter. His Ogren charged and killed a mutant, but then my Lumberghast charged in, did 3 mortal wounds, and then just murdered the Ogren, who was my Eliminate Guard. And then because it was capture, the points quickly started to crumble. Like I just started killing his stuff. He killed my Tentacle Monster and got Rob and Ransack, but then my leader got involved and started killing stuff. But because he's also blooded, my mutants can kill him quite reliably. So anything that was chipped was effectively finished off by mutants or my bugs, because my sludge grubs are very effective on Into the Dark because they gain lethal 5 up. And then also my axe mutant, because he does 4 damage or 5 damage on a crit. So he was able just to finish off a lot of guys. And obviously surviving a lot of shooting due to my Feel No Pains was crazy. But in the end, I also won this one 23 13 or 14, I think. I actually thought my opponent was going to take the faction tackle for Bloodwood, which was Killmore, but instead he took Headhunter because he thought I was going to run my leader forward and murder everyone. But I didn't. I kept my leader back. My leader took no damage all game, but he hid for 2 turning points effectively. But that was a very, very close and fun game. So overall, as you may have guessed, I did win the event. I went undefeated with 6 games. I also was tied for max tac ops because I only dropped 2, so I got 34 out of 36 tac ops. I think someone else did in the top 8, but I can't remember. But then Jonathan, who I played with his Hyrotech, came second for overall. Then he also won first overall in terms of like painting, hobby votes, and sporting. Then Connor came third with his Commandos. Joe came fourth with his Felgor. Russ came fifth with his Legionary. Manel came 6th with his Mandrakes, James came 7th with his Hunterclade, and Tom came 8th with his Phobos Strike Team. So very nice and very top 8, very different to what we were expecting. Everyone was expecting Brood Brothers were going to do quite well, but I played the Blooded Gentleman, Christopher. He was able to actually beat Brood Brothers quite early on in the tournament, which is a good result because it's like Brood Brothers is a kind of upgraded version of Blooded, so he did well there. But it was really nice, varied event. Not many, like I think I was the only Galapox, like just a lot of a nice spread of factions. And then for winning, I also got a bunch of prizes. So as you can see, I got my 2nd golden ticket of the year, which is technically my 4th golden ticket since I started playing Kill Team. And then we had a 1st place trophy for glass, in terms of like everyone had glass trophies, but they also had these brand new Kill Team trophies that they didn't know if would be ready in time. So that's why there's no like print on them. But it's so cool. So everyone, there was 1 in gold, 1 in silver, 1 in bronze. It's not actual gold, or is it? But it looks really cool. I have the chainsword ones, but these ones are way better. I believe these are the new trophies for Kill Team, at least for Warhammer World. Maybe it's the new Kill Team logo, who knows? Hopefully it gets rolled out to the rest of Games Workshop events like in America, but so far, very, very cool. And then obviously there was awards for best overall, but very cool. I got another golden ticket. If you're worried about me eating another golden ticket in terms of preventing someone else, it does pass down, but effectively the event will decide how that passes down. So I haven't stopped someone from going, someone else will go. It just won't be the person who came second, because he also got a golden ticket for coming best overall. But it was a really, really fun event. My plan with the Galapox worked. Normally, I would go for maxing tac ops, but in this kind of event, the interesting thing, everyone was focused on trying to max their tac ops, but I was more focused on the primary because Galapox play the primary better, and I plan to do a video on it eventually, but I just focused on the primaries more. Like there were games where I couldn't max my tac ops either because I popped Robin Ransack too early, or I was just like, look, if I pop Robin Ransack early, it forces them to react to pull off the objectives to try and stop me scoring tac ops. Or there was some scenarios where I let my opponent score their tac ops because it wasn't going to stop. They had to choose either the tac ops or the primaries, and they chose the tac ops. So I was able to go ahead there. But it's very, very tough. I was happy I was able to do quite well on rounds 1 and 3 because those are the maps I hate. I don't really like diagonal deployments in general, but especially for Galapox when you're playing the map where all 4 objectives on the center line on diagonal, you effectively could go 4-1, which is very bad. But it was a really tough spread of opponents, but everyone was super fun. The interesting thing, like the hobby standard was really, really high. Everyone was running like display boards pretty much, or highly painted kill teams, or their own like unique take on kill teams. It was really, really cool. Everyone was super friendly. The miniatures hall was great. Games Workshop was great. The Warhammer World Events team ran a great event, like very clearly organized. I did like how the deployment zones were mapped up on the open. The only thing I would have liked is if the Into the Dark maps had objective markers too, but you know, at least we had 2 of each type of board and everyone was guaranteed 1 open, 1 Into the Dark all the time, so there was an even spread. And yeah, it was just really cool and fun. It was great. There was a lot of people there who it was their first event, and I managed to speak to a few of them, and they had a great fun time as well, and they'll be back there for future events, which is really cool. I definitely recommend people playing at Warhammer World. You'll have a good time. It's really well run, and everyone there is super cool. And obviously, I'm really happy with how I did, but I also had a very good weekend. Nice relaxing one as well. Very tense, tight games. And also shout outs to the water tower who kept me hydrated all weekend. I think I drank like 7 liters of water that weekend just at the event alone. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you like my tournament report with Galapox? What did you learn? You know, let me know if I missed anything else or anything else you'd like to cover. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, and a affiliate link at Element Gamers, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts with the crew, I have Tom, Super Cow, Steven, Sam, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Mercenary Q, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Dave Meets World, Dad of Goldens, Chris, and for my veterans of the crew, I have Samja. So thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yes, I will actually be at another tournament soon. Right, that's pretty cool. And who knows, there may be something this weekend. Maybe there is something I should be covering, but I'm sure there's nothing I should be covering at all. Just standard kill team tournaments and tactics. There's nothing else at all. But remember, no matter what happens at any event you're at, you always have a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.